My name is Pamela, I'm 30, and I've been married to Patrick for 3 years. We don't have children yet. Everything in our marriage shifted after Patrick's father, Jesse, died unexpectedly from a heart attack. We were living in another state at the time, and the news came as a shock. At the funeral, Patrick's uncle suggested that Patrick, as the youngest and only son, should move back home to support his mother, Mary. A few months later, Patrick announced, without asking me, that he'd transferred to a branch office near his hometown. I was upset he'd made such a big decision alone, especially knowing how tense things had always been between Mary and me. When we lived far away, our visits to his parents were mostly during holidays. Mary constantly compared us to Patrick's sisters, Amanda and Diane, who lived nearby and visited often. She also never hid her disappointment about us not having children yet. During one visit, she even questioned my ability to have kids, comparing me to other women. Despite my misgivings, I moved with Patrick. Mary seemed pleased at first. 3 weeks later, she invited me for tea. I reluctantly accepted. When I arrived, Amanda was already there. "It's been so long since you visited," Amanda said, her tone sharp. Mary smiled sweetly. "I thought moving closer meant we'd see more of you. I guess I was wrong. You don't like me, do you?" I held back from saying exactly what I felt. "It's not that I dislike you. I've just been tired from adjusting to the move," I explained. Amanda jumped in. "How can you speak to your mother-in-law like that? Apologize." But instead of anger, Mary surprised me. "You're right. I've been mean. I'm sorry, especially for the comments about children. That was nosy of me." She admitted she only wanted a grandchild. Amanda's husband was infertile, and Diane might have fertility problems, so she had pinned her hopes on Patrick and me. I told her we were considering children, but asked for patience. The moment seemed like a small breakthrough, but that night, Patrick came home angry. "Mom said you told her you don't want to get along with her." She was crying, he accused. I tried to explain, but he sided with her. Minutes later, Amanda texted me, "If you moved here, you should try harder to make it work." Frustrated, I told Patrick maybe he should be with someone his mother actually liked. The word divorce slipped out, shocking him. The next day, Patrick said Mary admitted it was a misunderstanding. He suggested we take her out for a fancy birthday dinner, if we made it look like my idea. I agreed, even invited Amanda and Diane, though I felt uneasy. The night of the dinner, Mary ignored me completely. Then the waiter told us the reservation was for 7, not 8. I'd booked 8. The staff explained someone had called a week ago to change it. Patrick. He admitted it openly, saying everyone was already here. Then, in front of everyone, he accused me of bad-mouthing him and his family. Mary had apparently told him more lies, and instead of asking me, he believed her. He had even posed as me on the phone to change the reservation. I realized in that moment that Patrick had no intention of truly supporting me against his family. When I asked him to apologize for humiliating me, he told me I should apologize to his family and then go home alone to think about my behavior. That was when I knew something in our marriage had broken for good. I had never said, nor had I needed to say, that I wanted a husband who would take his mother's word over his wife's. Yet, here we were, Patrick, silent and tense, his mother Mary wearing that smug, victorious little smirk that told me she thought she'd won. Tears of frustration burned my eyes, threatening to spill over. Why had I even followed him here? Patrick noticed my distress and began to panic, his hand twitching like he wanted to reach for me, but the damage had already been done. The look on Mary's face was almost gleeful, her scheme unfolding exactly as she had hoped. I turned to Patrick, my voice cold and measured. "Next time, marry a younger, more docile daughter-in-law. Maybe then you'll have children and be happier." Mary's response came swift and sharp, her tone dripping with disdain. "Pamela, why don't you go back to your parents' house? A daughter-in-law is ultimately an outsider. I can't see you as family. You're not charming at all, so please leave quickly." Her words cut deep, but instead of weakening me, they solidified my resolve. "I'd leave even without you telling me," I shot back. "And I'd like to see anyone who can actually get along with someone as twisted as you." I turned on my heel and headed toward the exit, my heart pounding, Patrick still silent with his head buried in his hands. Just as I reached the door, I heard my name. Diane and her husband were approaching, both looking uneasy. "Pamela, wait," Diane said, her voice low but urgent. "I can't stand it anymore. Mom and Amanda haven't changed a bit. I knew the gossip about you was false. Her words, small but sincere, were like a single candle in a pitch-black room. A sliver of solace. She hinted she was ready to cut ties with the family's toxicity, and for a moment, I didn't feel quite so alone. As I tried to process this, my phone rang. Mary's name flashed on the screen. Ugh, what now? Before I could answer, the name switched to Patrick's. Diane and her husband exchanged knowing glances. You might want to go back to the restaurant, Diane said cryptically. You might see something interesting. They left looking oddly satisfied. Against my better judgment, curiosity won out. When I answered Patrick's call, his voice was frantic. Pamela, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was all a lie. I'll send the divorce papers later. There was a pause, then a desperate plea. Wait, can't you come back, please? It's a lifetime request. A bitter laugh almost escaped me, but Diane's strange hint lingered in my mind. I went back. When I stepped inside, I was met with a scene straight out of a soap opera. A crowd had gathered around Patrick's table, and a local TV announcer, Mary's favorite, was speaking into a microphone. Mary's face had lost its confident glow, her words stumbling over themselves. No, that's not it, it's a misunderstanding, she babbled. The announcer pressed on. You loudly declared in the restaurant that Pamela is an outsider and should leave. What did you mean by that? Patrick and Amanda looked like they wished they could melt into the floor. Diane's husband and a few others quietly slipped out. I learned from a nearby waiter that a TV recording had been scheduled at the restaurant that day, pure coincidence, and my family drama had just been played out in front of cameras. Mary, still desperate to look good in front of her beloved announcer, forced a smile when she saw me. Oh, we usually call each other Pamela. Pamela, come over here. The microphone was pointed my way. And how does the daughter-in-law view her mother-in-law? The announcer asked. I've never been called Pamela, I said evenly. But I have been called unpatriotic for not having children, though that's because Patrick and I never felt ready or confident enough to start a family. We haven't even tried for over 2 years. That's what I was told was grounds for divorce. I told them how Patrick had once supported me when I was ill, and how I'd followed him here hoping things would improve. Instead, they had only worsened. My voice didn't shake anymore, my tears had run dry hours ago. Mary and Amanda's embarrassment was almost palpable. And when I mentioned that this might be broadcast nationwide, Mary's smile faltered completely. Well, I said, my lips curling into the faintest smile, since the daughter-in-law is considered an outsider, I guess I should leave. Goodbye. The shouts followed me out, but I didn't look back. Though Mary eventually managed to stop the footage from airing, the incident spread like wildfire through local gossip. By the next day, everyone seemed to know. I packed my belongings and returned to my parents' house, sending Patrick the divorce papers. When he didn't respond quickly enough, I considered getting a lawyer, until he showed up at my parents' door. My father, Peter, usually calm and composed, met him at the threshold, stern-faced. Patrick apologized, claimed he'd cut ties with his family, and promised to put me first. My father wasn't impressed. Why didn't you realize